What is up, Truth and Transparency? Welcome, Sunday nights. The Browns won. The Buckeyes won yesterday. The Browns won today. 2-0. Oh, I had a sweet-ass interview on Friday night, so I guess I'm 3-0. Welcome. Let's do it. Sunday night, mods, members, subscribers, lurkers.
Folks, I know there's a history here. I'd like to get this hearing in today. You know, everybody needs to just focus on the relevant facts, okay? I know there's a history here.
Are you talking up by Sunset Mart? Up the hill by the gas station?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did you? All right. Who's responsible here?
What's that?
Who's responsible here? Whose house is this?
Yeah, haven't been drinking or anything, right?
No.
Okay. Drive careful, okay?
Thank you.
This is what the other group had that ran away.
Oh, really? You just ditched it? Awesome.
Yeah, those ones kept walking in the car and the other one.
It's truly for the win.
That I was given to. So there was 2 different discs. Okay? They all knew about it.
We're not here to talk about the alcohol stuff, okay?
Okay, yeah.
But this is the second noise complaint we've had here tonight within 2 hours.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Is this your place?
Yeah.
Perfect. You know why we're here?
And I see noise.
Noise, yeah.
Yeah.
Big speaker right there.
Yeah.
Nothing against having a party. Once neighbors start calling in, then we have an issue.
Like brains, and like if you need a lot of brains, you're gonna be in trouble.
What? No way. Again, hi everybody. What is good? Hope you guys had a great weekend. I was getting a lot of Crime Con. Damn, I couldn't even think there for a second. So a lot of creators were out there in Orlando. Orlando is what I call Orlando. Orlando. One of the best strip clubs I've ever been to was in Orlando. I swear it was the biggest dive I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, small too. But yeah, Orlando. So hope everybody had fun in Orlando. JLR living his best life out in Orlando for the weekend. Ethan's mom made an appearance. So there's an article out there if you guys want to catch that. Again, prayers go out to the Chapin family. So, and since those of you guys like myself couldn't make it out to Orlando, we kind of brought, a famous person here. You guys all just sat on your couches, and you guys got to see a pretty relevant interview with somebody that is that testified as an expert witness. It has to do with the Idaho4 case, but has done other things, other cases. So we're going to break this down because I got the okay. I got the thumbs up. And we are going to be able to do this live experiment to see if, with the help of Miss Vargas, to see if we can go ahead and identify one of you guys that submits your spit DNA. And we're going to go ahead and do this experiment to see, you know, if we can pick you out of like all the people. So it's something that we talked about in that interview on Friday. Diamond Club or Dancers? Shit, I don't even know the name. I was there like at 10 o'clock in the morning. It was for a event. I got drugged there. Oh, what is up? Look at that. I'll be giving you a quiz after this recap. Let's see who paid attention. So the first thing that we have to go do is we got to go like sign up so we can get this like this vial. So we can get it like sent to you guys, sent back. You're gonna have to like load it up and everything. So if you want to partake in this, the only way that it will work is obviously I can't know who you are. But it's nice that you guys, I don't know your real names here. But like through like email and stuff like that, I want you to create a completely new email to do it as well. But reach out and you're gonna have to go. Let's see what it says right here. I think it says it, what we need to do. You gotta go and like create an account. Okay.
And again, it's in the box and then it's on the tube.
Okay.
Okay. So what you want to do, the first thing before you even decide to spit is what I did was create your account.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So go to Ancestry. It's free.
Okay. So we have to like go to Ancestry and we're gonna like create these accounts. So if you want to be part of it, go to Ancestry. Do I have to walk us through that part of it, or do we got that? But you're going to sign up to get a kit, and according to Miss Vargas here, it's free. Even if it was a couple bucks, come on, guys, it's worth it. Oh shit!
You don't have to pay for it. It's free. Create your account and put in that activation code associated with you.
Because they're going to associate that number to you.
Yes, but here's the thing.
No, I shouldn't do
Ancestry
this.
does not know that that's your DNA. They only know that it's your DNA because you activated that kit with that name.
With like that purchase.
So if you, let's say you were to buy a kit, you know, an Ancestry kit, but you had your friend spit in it, but you registered the kit under your name, it's gonna come up that it's your DNA. But the matches are really gonna be hers because it's her DNA.
Okay. So again, we'll work on all of that in a little bit. I had to go back, haven't even watched this, you know, I'm just going off of memory. And basically, I hate to say it, but I'm fucking right. I believe that unless Brian Kohlberger's mom or Brian Kohlberger's dad took a test and they are in that system, that this is going to take a minute. I know that Ms. Vargas talked about the custody, the chain, and she never ever gets this DNA, this spit. She's just simply getting the data and then uploading it and then looking and comparing. And then she'll have a bunch of matches, and then she's going to go through the list of, you know, I said, hey, what about like 500? Is that like a lot or a little? She's like, shit, that's a little. It's a little bit. There's like 20,000. You know, so 20,000. Think about it like this. Think about all you guys that like to stalk people on social media. Think about going and you get a list of names, and at some point, and somewhere down each person that you're matching with, you're related to them. Like it could be like, way distant. And that's what she was saying is by the number. So for it to be a parent, it's like 3,500 centimorgans compared to like, if you got a number like 70. So I'm curious what matches came back for Brian. I'm also curious if this was even fucking used because I think Howard Bloom somehow gets his hands on relevant shit. And in the beginning, he was making it like obvious that this Ortham lab had some issues. And so I think if there's somebody that's out there worth interviewing about the lab, it'd be him because of the stuff that he talked about in his articles. So, but then when you get these names, you can use different ways to like, break down and see who they're related to. So let's say if you had like a bin verified account or you had what other accounts that you could pay for to like, look up people. But I said, why guess on all this? I'll just have Gabby give me one-on-one tutorial and we'll do it here in a live experiment. So I was like, that's just the best way to do it. Because the experiment is to see, how long it would take, but it doesn't matter how long your work's going to take. At the end of the day, it had to take time before, if Gabby was the one that, let's say, which she was not, obviously contacted to do Brian Koberger's, case, that still takes time until you're even like handed the data to, pump that in and start doing your thing. So how much time do we think it took until they were able to, begin forming this tree? And I'm guessing, based on what Miss Vargas was saying, that murders were 11/13. I put it in the hands over there in Ortham at 11/20. I don't think that you're working on this until, because then that's when I went into CODIS and they had to extract it again. I don't know. I don't say that you're working on this before 11, probably like right around Thanksgiving. That would be my guess. But what's crazy is when I was reading Jay's his documents that he put in, which I've cleaned my office, so like my shit's everywhere right now. Or no, I mean it's put away, and I like it actually when it's everywhere because I'm able to get to stuff a lot faster when my stuff's everywhere. But he came up with some very interesting dates when they were asking for stuff in Discovery. And the biggest thing that I noticed is they're like, we still don't understand how you guys came to wanting and saying that you wanted the local law enforcement people to start looking for this white Elantra, allegedly. They never gave a year. What were you looking at that you said and that you were able to describe that it's a white Elantra that you're looking for? And the reason that was interesting to me is because he's basically saying, we have the Discovery now, and we're looking through what you were looking through, and what surveillance video were you looking at where you could possibly identify a vehicle to be a white Elantra, and that would be the vehicle that you're looking for. And so, well then, if you really truly think about that comment, it's like, okay, did you know that Brian Koberger had a white Elantra? Well, that was known on 11/25 that they were looking for this vehicle. Then they said on 11/29 is when it was made known that, hey, we found Brian, his name's Brian Koberger. He had a vehicle. It's the same vehicle, but he's switched his license plate because it went from being a Pennsylvania license plate to being Washington. That was on 11/18 that he switched his license plate. The same day, ironically, that they started to look at the surveillance videos around the house of 1122 King. So you have the surveillance video, but you're not looking at it for on 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You wait all those days to look at footage from neighbors' video to see if somebody's walking out of the house, walking in the house, driving around, dropping someone off. How anybody would not think that that's very, very like vital information. The only way that you wouldn't think that it's vital is because you already have somebody and they don't care if you get it, or maybe you want it to like, get ruined or something. I don't know. I just think that I'd be looking at surveillance cameras. I mean, the Sheldon Jeter Jr. case, they said they started looking at cameras before the place was even open to look at the cameras. That's how big cheaters they are over there. But you'd want to get your hand on, I mean, it's 2023, digital age. Go get the surveillance footage, like whatever you can. So why would Jay again put in for his, request that, hey, you guys have to turn over this work because we need to understand how you even got to Brian Koberger. Like, how was he your person on your map? Like, where's this coming from? Did the IGG information with the tip from the FBI come first? Or did you track him down through this mysterious white car? What came first? And again, I don't think lawyers are going to risk their career to be putting stuff in documents and them lying on the behalf of Brian Koberger or anybody for that matter. So I think that I can't imagine how I can't imagine that Kaylee's sister knows that the girls were going inside and out and letting out Murphy and all of that because she had seen the Ring camera footage. Like, but then authorities didn't start looking at the Ring camera footage until 11/18. How is that possible? But Olivia and them knew about it, before law enforcement did. What is up, Miss Potts? FML. Fuck my life. I'm still at work. What all those girls did that were living next door and the people that lived across the street? Olivia was like, you guys need to get out. You guys need to leave town. Like, there's like 4 people just got stabbed to death. Like, what do you guys, no one's safe. Like, why are you guys still just chilling? This person has been arrested. But then you have the police saying everybody's safe. Everybody's safe. This is a targeted attack. And you have the family saying, what? Like, these are innocent people. What do you mean targeted attack? Like, no, I mean, somebody just came in someone's home and did this in the middle of the night. And y'all want to just kick it in Moscow and stay in these houses that are like right there. And so these people that lived in that area, they all left. They're on camera saying that they're leaving early and going home for Thanksgiving, which is not until the following week. So when did law enforcement get the cameras? Did they have them and they just didn't start looking at them until 11/18? I don't understand why, and the reason I'm very adamant of that is because it's in paperwork. When when you file a report as a police officer, whether it's a supplemental, you're putting the date that you're going and obtaining something. So if I was to come and interview you, I would say I went to Sweet Susie's house at, on the 15th, at, 2:30 in the afternoon, where I was able to give her a thumb drive. She downloaded her DVR. I left there. And so therefore, like, there's a date of that's when I got that information. Then there's going to be a date of when I actually looked at the information. So it goes into evidence. Then you're supposed to sign stuff out. You can also make your own copy to have like a working copy. But in your reports, you're going to be putting these dates and times of when you're doing stuff. That's where Jay is getting this information, that nobody looked at that camera until the 18th. And so, but the camera that you're saying that you're looking at, that you just glanced at, we went ahead and looked at it, meaning the defense, and you cannot tell what color car or what make and model it is. So where did you get this information from? What were you looking at? So, and then you mix that with what Miss Vargas does, and here, this is such a small community that does this IGG work, and they're experts. It's a very small community, and from my understanding, uh, it's a catty world out there. But when you have such a small community, we're talking like a handful of people, and they're all looking at each other and they're like, did you do the Brian Kohlberger case? Did you do the Brian Kohlberger case? Who did the Brian Kohlberger case? And everybody's looking around at each other and just like, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. People are saying they didn't do it. So when you go around a circle and everybody says that they didn't do the Brian Kohlberger case, that they weren't the genealogist to do the work, well, then who did it? Who did it? The FBI. Does the FBI have people? I don't know. Did Fry do it? I don't know. But one would only think that if this is like, whose decision was it? Because this whole time we've been told that Moscow Police Department, they've maintained their jurisdiction on this case. They've only used resources when people have offered to like help them. But it's never been like, we're turning this over to the FBI. So if you're asking for someone's help, it's interesting because Idaho State Police got when they did their huge grant in 2021 for the lab, it was all about this IGG stuff. It was all about, they secured a ton of money. And I get that it's different than, private people, but you clearly went to that Texas lab, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, we don't want you to work on it anymore. We'll take it. We're going to send it over to the FBI. They're going to work on it. So that doesn't make any sense. And who made that decision? Who called somebody up and said, hey, you guys have the work, you guys have, the profile, but we're deciding that the people that are in that lab in Ortham, they're not going to do it. We want the FBI is going to do it. Okay, so who in the FBI did it? And then if they're truly trying to protect, like they wanted to protect the lab, they wanted to protect the genealogist. Well, so you want to protect the FBI? That's my, I mean, what? I don't know. I thought the FBI gets involved when crimes across state lines. I think people can just do whatever they want. That's my opinion of everything that's going on with this case. Yeah. Did you? Me and Jax had a huddle there, so. You're muted. I can't hear you. Oh, I muted on purpose. Don't worry about that. Hit that like for Lana. Yeah. So if you guys didn't see this interview, you missed a lot. So,
usually, so for example, let's say,
okay, can you do that with touch DNA? Like if I was like here, let's say touch. I had somebody grab something at my house and I was like,
it's a different process.
Totally different.
It can be, okay. Yes, it can be done. But listen, first of all, the touch DNA,
okay. So where I was trying to head with this is, for example, the the Colorado case of the little girl. What the heck? JonBenet Ramsey. JonBenet Ramsey. There was DNA, okay, on her underwear. All right. Has anybody ever done workup on that? I'm just curious. I don't know if anybody's ever said, here, let me see based on whatever they have in the JonBenet Ramsey case, if they can come up with whose DNA that belonged to, because it's always been just an unknown. Because I believe that was like touch DNA, and ABC did a special and was probably like the best I've ever seen of like what a theory would be coming of that. And it's saying that the people that probably packaged that underwear, it was probably someone like that, their DNA, because she had gotten those underwear in like a package for Christmas. She had opened them, and did she not like wash them before like she put them on like a little kid would do? But basically I was asking her about this touch DNA. She says that touch DNA is different.
How do we say, becomes not as potent as time goes on, right? It kind of degrades.
Ooh,
okay.
I didn't know that.
But
I didn't know
here's
that.
the
Did
problem.
you guys know that touch DNA degrades? I learned that was new. So touch DNA degrades. Nancy got you. So if you guys knew that, I didn't know that. I learned that touch DNA degrades.
Problem with touch DNA, okay? If I have a case where I have a bloody t-shirt, let's just say, okay? It is not, I can have the lab do it, but usually the state crime lab will extract the blood from the shirt and put it in a little tube, and they will send that tube to a third-party lab that I use. But
okay, so she says she's talking here about extracting. So based off of this Idaho case, when they got all their samples, they had 103 samples that they sent to the Idaho State lab, and they ended up sending an additional 10 right either before Thanksgiving or right after Thanksgiving to make it 113 pieces in this case. When they sent the 103 to the Idaho State lab, on 11/20, they got it back that it was the sheath, whatever was on it, they put it in CODIS and there was no hit. Okay. So then you actually have to, you go and you take this sheath and you're sending, because they have to extract the data off of, or the DNA off of it. And that's something different than CODIS is. So I was like asking about the CODIS process. Like, okay, so do you just take whatever you put in CODIS and you can just take that and say, no. Then you want to take it to a lab and they're going to extract DNA for the purpose of what, like, they're making a workup to do. So I said, okay, so that's another step, because I was trying to get down like these steps of how long something would take. And before she could ever do her job, like someone like Gabriella Vargas she doesn't just, oh yeah, hey Bills, go ahead and just, mail me off this bloody shirt. Like, that's not what happens. There's a process of, she's waiting until she gets now, here you go. Here's the data. Then you're going to pump it into the system that you work with, GEDmatch. And then you're going to start getting these matches and you're going to start doing what it is that you do. So that takes time until you can actually get your hands to then have it to be the point that Gabby can even start working on something. And that's what I want to know. I want to know how long it took them to do all of this. And then think about this. Why wouldn't you be concerned about unknown male DNA that's in the house besides the sheath? You clearly put it through CODIS to see that it was different than Brian Koberger's DNA, right? So, but wouldn't that be, how would that not be important? 2 other known male DNAs in that house, unknown. You have a shit ton of DNA in that house because you're having a shit ton of parties, and kids are just throwing up their cell phones to be downloaded. Kids are just throwing up their DNA. Here you go, here you go, here you go. But who in their right mind that would ever be investigating a case would be like, these unknown DNAs don't matter? How could you even make that, especially if you could possibly think that this could be more than one person, because of how crazy it is, the time frame that you say this happened, and people aren't waking up screaming and calling 911 right away. So how come those, or were they ever a priority? And you guys, they weren't. Because how do we know this? Because Bill motherfucking Backseat Thompson gets up and says out loud, like, the defense just wants something that we don't have. We just can't give the defense something that doesn't exist. You're telling me that what doesn't exist? The DNA doesn't exist? We know that the DNA exists. No, we didn't do anything with it. That's what doesn't exist. You didn't do anything with the DNA? You weren't trying to figure out whose DNA it was? Because think about this. What if the sheath would have been a dead end? What if the sheath in the touch DNA that was on there, what if it was whoever packaged the fucker? Okay, you wouldn't know that. Okay, so you would be working those 2 other unknown male DNAs. Why wouldn't you? There's only a couple reasons why you wouldn't. Okay, and I'm telling you, they're not good reasons. They're not positive reasons. They're shit reasons. They're nasty reasons that you wouldn't. I just couldn't imagine as a parent hearing that, wait, there's other DNA in the house that we don't know whose DNA it is. Male, unknown. What? How did you know that something would turn up from that sheath? I don't know. I just think that's reckless as fuck, if you ask me. Why isn't anyone concerned that your biological data is on file, possibly without your knowledge and without your authority? I think I'd care about that. You're just an informant, though. There is no video of the sheath being found. That's problematic. There's no blood in the car. There's no sheath being found on body cam. It's kind of like the Richard Allen, this bullet, this magical bullet that was just in the ground. There's no pictures of it being taken out of the ground, being measured. Like, you got... Oh, shit. Charlie says, I'm sorry, but I think the police are involved. They didn't all have body cams? Yeah, they did. First, yeah, all of Moscow has body cams. We went through this with finger... Police DNA during the 8 hours before 911 was called, possibly. I mean, possibly, but doubtful in my opinion.
But the evidence or the DNA or the tube or anything never gets sent to me. And there's a crucial reason why, is because we need to maintain chain of custody. So if the police send me the DNA, what's to say that I don't decide to wash the tube out and bleed in it, and now
Exactly. And this is what Jay kind of makes a smart ass remark about. Sorry that if Mr. Colbert isn't going to wonder why the FBI is just like wandering around with his DNA, Another thing that Gabby had said about her other case was, she said that, hey, this is my work. This is who, there's 3 brothers, blah, blah. Well, you go and you obtain this person's DNA so that you can test the work to make sure that's accurate. Okay. So what they did is they thought the guy threw out a cigarette. And so they pick up the cigarette, they go and test it. It's not. And so they're like, go talk to your girl because her work's wrong or something like that, some type of exchange. Then she's like, I double checked no, you guys got some messed up, like something's off with your end, Well, here the officer was like, well, when he threw out that cigarette, I mean, there was a couple in the area. I mean, maybe. So then they went and got, a homie's DNA when this officer went and had cigarettes with the guy at some, I don't know, laundromat. And they tested that, and then that came back and it matched. Okay. So like, that's what you're supposed to do in terms of like checking your work. If this is a lead, right? Go and make sure that it's right. So why didn't they go and get Brian Kohlberger's DNA? There's on Brian Kohlberger, like, they couldn't get his DNA. If they would have just taken like the trash, you don't know who put what in. Like, if you come to my house right now and you're in my trash right now, you just take like the whole big bag and you throw it in your car and you just fucking get out of Dodge. So you're gonna test all that garbage, or you're watching him to see when he's at like McDonald's and had like a cheeseburger or a Coke and then throws his cup away, right? So you're gonna sit here and tell me that out of anything that you get your hands on in Pennsylvania, it didn't have his DNA on it because they didn't have anything to positively compare it to. And this is when people say, Alana, it's because he was wearing gloves 24/7. He was sleeping in gloves. He had gloves. He had 2 pairs on him. What? So you're going to sit here and tell me that you interviewed all these students, right? That he had class with and he was their teacher. And now, did any of these students say, oh man, Mr. Kohlberger, man, he would always wear gloves when he was teaching for those rest of the weeks? I don't think any of them said that. Mr. Kohlberger was just in gloves, wrapped up. He was in saran wrap, teaching us. When you work at your like office, you're like talking and like spit can come out of your mouth. Like there's nothing in that office that had like his DNA on it, that his TA or whatever the hell what office he had. Didn't he go and like clean out his car allegedly in PA? He was like vacuuming out or whatever and like got a car wash. He didn't throw anything out. Or were they not following him yet? And then nobody's wondered to themselves, how in the world could you type up and print up a 19 or 20 page probable cause that's as detailed as it was with stuff that doesn't fucking matter, but you'd have to like, be watching a whole bunch of shit, surveillance cameras to like do that. Think about everything that was in that PCA. And then think about what was in Blaker's. Blaker's was loaded. Blaker's was 33 pages. Okay. How would these possibly be fucking ready to go? Like, how long do you think it would take to type that up and be accurate? Because you don't want to fuck it up, right? And according to Jennifer Coffindaffer, it's like, yeah, of course, all this timeline just makes perfect sense. And I'm over here like, who's doing it then? You think someone like Payne Payne has zero experience. Payne forgets to like put on his little like, hit his little login buttons when he's, being sent to a noise complaint. You would never know Payne's at those because he doesn't properly dispatch himself in and out of places like per protocol. I showed that in a video back in the day, but it's just like, It was like they were building a PCA in real time for that person. And if you just got that match and stuff on December 27th, 28th, how could that possibly be ready to go on the 29th to be signed? And then how does Dawn Daniels know to say to a judge, hey, you know what? Just in case this DNA was obtained illegally, don't consider that when giving us this. How the fuck would Dawn Daniels know anything about this? No offense to Dawn Daniels, but why would she ever make that statement? She just didn't make the motherfucking statement. She put it in, she wrote it up in, she typed it up in her probable cause that was like her sworn statements to go with Blaker's 33 fucking pages as to why they should have probable cause to get into Brian Kohlberger's apartment. And just none of this is just wild to people. And Jay says it best. He says, so essentially the state's hiding their entire case against Brian Kohlberger. That's against the law. That's a fucking violation of our rights. And we're over here like, fry him. Yeah, shoot him, murder him, basically, right? Firing squad, go at him. And I'm just over here like, what the fuck? Logically, you just can't. Ooh.
It's my DNA, right? Not that I would do that, but just as an example,
Yeah.
we have to make sure that it's the same DNA that came from the crime scene. So it has to maintain chain of custody.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there something that you have to do specifically? Like, do they like to maintain that? Like, how do you maintain custody? She's like, I don't touch it.
To maintain chain of custody, I don't fucking touch it.
So well stated, though. That's not how I do my work. So I would never get it. Okay, great. So my question is then, and it's the defense's question. You're communicating with somebody to say, hey, we're deciding to go with the FBI. We're not going to let you guys work on this at the Ortham laboratory, okay? Even though you guys were starting to do it, we want that data. We're going to go give it to the FBI, okay? So we're going to go give it to the FBI. How did that happen? Wouldn't you have to tell the person that has it, here, can you mail it to so-and-so? Or we're just going to come pick it up? Can you FedEx that to us? What the there's no paper trail in any of this. And don't you kind of think that's wild? Like, why would you have to hide that? Oh, because on it probably says names of who's emailing each other, right? I don't get it. You cannot. What the? Can I ask you guys, what the fuck did they do what did they show the grand jury? Whoever was these grand jurors, what did y'all see? What evidence did you guys see? Because the defense hasn't seen shit. I'm just curious. Was the grand jury notified that everyone's rights are being violated with these loopholes of Jed Match and whatever else there is out there? No. Wait, what? I'm just curious. Oh, we were just told that. I mean, here, guys, the defense can't get discovery to save their lives, right? But here, the grand jury just saw what? What did the grand jury see? Lana, it honestly doesn't matter what they saw. They want someone to pay for this crime, says Boston. Yeah, but they presented the grand jury with the buccal swab DNA matched to Brian Goldberger. Yeah, and who cares how they got that? DNA is diminished test. The grand jury saw some money. Grand jury were showing a photo of BK holding a ham sandwich. This is why either you hate me or love me. These are the questions. These are the statements that I highlight. I need to hear everything that Bethany Funk has to say. Oh shit. Damn. They just did what they were told. You better do what they taught you.
It doesn't come to me. It doesn't get sent to me. What happens, a tooth, depending on which tooth, depending on if dental work was done or not,
Okay.
is better to get DNA from than a bone, right?
Okay.
Order in the system.
Like an invoice.
Or with the person. Well, kind of, but it's more
Like
of
a work order.
Like a purchase order. Like,
yeah, okay.
I'm going to be submitting this, or detective so-and-so is going to be submitting this on behalf of my company, right? And so then that lab will email me a shipping label. So so they know, okay, this is coming in, number one. This is associated with DNA ID, which is my company. And then the detective, I'll email it to him and he'll put it on the evidence and send it so they know that it belongs to this case that we're working on. So, but there's also, look, I'm not a lab person. So there are things that I don't know. I don't know what is better, which tooth is better if we have all the teeth. Number one.
Whatever you work with. So what do you get?
So when it's
your turn to do stuff, what do you get?
So my turn to do stuff is from taking on the case, right? It's shepherding it through the process. But my work part actually starts when the DNA has been sequenced, the genetic profile's been created, it's put into a data file.
How long does it usually take?
So that depends. Do we have to get an extraction, right? If we have to get an extraction, we have to send it to one lab and then that lab sends it to another lab. You could
touch DNA if you have to do touch DNA. If I have a problem with spitting, I was like, here's my, I don't know, my napkin. Can you get touch DNA?
Well, yes, but see, you touch my pillow, your DNA is now on my pillow, but that doesn't mean that you were the perpetrator.
Yeah. So you can't get that back. Is it done?
They only use a small amount to test out of all of the DNA that's available, right? So if they extract a whole tube of it.
I'm saying if all we have is touch DNA, let's say like I came over to your house.
Very specific. You're getting
had like a shit ton of these. Oh God, there's a person that has 3,500. Is that what it would tell you? Like, oh my God, who's this?
Well, I would know right away because my person is the unknown person, right?
Yeah. But like, so, I'm just trying to like break it. So basically the point of all this is that the state came out and said, guys, which clearly, in my opinion, I believe that Ann Taylor knew when she was starting to get some of this discovery, okay? She started seeing things and, she's obviously been around a lawyer a decent, like how many years? noticing that, okay, uh, how Brian Colbert he doesn't know these fucking girls. He doesn't talk to these people, doesn't know the dude, no connection, no connection. How did you get to Brian Colbert? How'd you get to Brian Colbert? How'd you get to Brian Colbert? And then it was just the secrecy of how they went about this, right? Why would this have to be some big fucking whacked up secret? It shouldn't have been, right? But clearly whatever Anne and her team were observing in this discovery was very, very concerning, to the point that I believe they kept it quiet. They kept it quiet, and I believe that stuff was going to come out in a preliminary hearing. And I believe that the prosecution got wind of that. And then that's why they had to go to a grand jury, because what started happening in March, more search warrants were Snapchat. They wanted to talk to Bethany because they believed that they found exculpatory. Whatever the hell she had said to somebody in an interview was recorded, transcribed, it's there. And it's completely ruining whatever narrative they're going with, right? So much so that, hey, we're going to go ahead and depose, basically, like, we're going to talk to Bethany. And they went ahead and they're trying to get her to come from where? Nevada as a roommate. Hey, we got to bring your ass back here because we got to come talk to you. And then she's over here like, oh my God. The deal is that as long as you promise me that I will not be arrested. Arrested? Why would you be arrested? Well, I don't know. We have no idea because it didn't go that route. The PR move was to tell all of us that we are trying to spare these roommates from having to go through this type of a trial and then having doing like it all over again, right? And when it's like the real trial. Wait, sparing the roommates. They're victims. We're going to spare them. Well, they're going to have to do this. So maybe it's actually a good trial run for them. If they have the same story and it's not going to be changing, what's the problem? There's only one reason that you wouldn't want them to be testifying more than once, is because, well, this is what you said at this time, under oath. So you have all of this going on. Then the state's admitting to Brady Giglio that involves officers that were involved in this case, right? You had a preliminary hearing that should have happened within 14 days of the arraignment. They agree to a date that's in June. Weird, right? 6 months. Well, that's a long time, not like just 30 days, 6 months. But it was because of the volume of discovery. And here you look at the discovery requests and everything that they arrested Brian Koberger, like everything that's in that PCA, the defense just can't find it. The defense is like, okay, you gave us so much fucking discovery, right? But here we're having all these people go through it. But all the stuff that you have in this PCA, where is it? Where is it? And how do we know that? Because of her supplementals to say, we asked you for this stuff. Their answer to everything was, we supplied it. We supplied it. We supplied it. Then she went ahead and got super specific with things, but not until after they lost out on their opportunity to have a preliminary hearing. That's when Ann Taylor started making her compel and to her discovery request. She started getting specific and saying, we asked for this. This is what they gave us. So she started getting specific with it. All right. Why? Because you already fucked us out of our preliminary hearing and went grand jury, right? And what else started happening? It was all just a massive, she kept everything to do with the DNA. That didn't come out until the discovery request 3, supplemental 3. And that was after she knew that there was going to be no preliminary hearing. So I believe that she was trying to keep this all hush-hush, okay, and until they got to the preliminary hearing, and then they were just going to pounce on it, on what they knew, which was, I believe that she had talked to somebody. My guess is someone like Leah Larkin, somebody that had knowledge of what the hell's been going on with this whole IGG shit. Because I saw the order of when Ann Taylor started talking to people, okay? And she was talking to the people that were testifying and putting their declarations in a very interesting manner. And Ann Taylor had all this stuff written up when she filed on June 22nd. She made like so many filings, and it was like she had this shit. I'm sorry, like I just don't think that they're Superman either. Like you were ready for this stuff, so you were working on it. You were working on it, and they knew that whatever was surrounding this whole DNA shit was all bullshit. They knew it, and I think they were trying to catch them off guard at the preliminary hearing. And somehow the prosecution, maybe they caught wind of that, but at the end of the day, it goes grand jury. So everyone's over here saying, "Well, what does it matter? What does it matter?" Like, they're not going to use the DNA. They're not going to. Yeah, they're using the DNA, guys. You want to know what they're using? They're using his buccal swab. You know where that came from? They came from after he was arrested. Okay, you don't get that. You don't get his buccal swab before he was arrested, so you get it afterwards, right? That's the issue. That's the issue. Me and Jax are gonna go cuddle. Yes, right there. The swab is the fruit from the poisonous tree, and that's what I was getting at. Is people like, we're not gonna use that. We're not gonna use that. Yeah, you are. You're using the DNA that you obtained illegally because it's what Don Daniels was getting at. We don't give us this because da da da. Come on now. This would require hella police work, and I'm totally not saying that it can't happen. It takes hella time, and the time that they did all of this, I just don't believe is feasible. And obviously, neither does Ann Taylor and Jay, because they're looking at this and like, what the fuck. So, yep, fruit of the poisonous tree. Yep, exactly. And that's why all of this information is crucial to Ann Taylor to prove this. Because my understanding is, unless you had Mr. or Mrs. Kohlberger, them going and doing this, it would have taken you a little bit of time to develop this tree. Okay. And that's the key word, is time. In this arrest of 7 weeks, that's telling me the complete opposite. You did this in record time. And you're refusing to show your work. Come on, man. And it's like, don't you want people like me, people like all of you guys? We want to trust law enforcement, right? And I had a follow-up phone call with Ms. Vargas, and she said, a lot of things will depend too, if they're like a black person, you're a white person, if you're Asian, on like, can something take a longer, less time, all that stuff. There's just so many factors. And that's why this little experiment that I get aided in to see how this works. The pressure's on for me to get this right. But it's time. It takes time. And so here's Willis telling us all on the 20th. You guys, this takes time. You guys heard those stats. You guys hear these tips, and we got to go through this and all these photographs and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, time. Well, that's exactly what it didn't take, you guys. It didn't take time. Okay? You're telling us that it takes time, but that's not what was happening. You guys were already planning it out. You guys were having people write up PCAs, and they did it in the Daniel Moore case and the Brian Drake case. And I'm going to prove it. That's my next episode tomorrow night, where I'm going to show you how these ISP detectives literally started mapping this out in May of 2020 to arrest and blame this on this dude and do everything and arrest him and get him to false confess in August. So much so that, how are they able to have a PCA ready and available to go right after he is coerced into false confessing, after he's asking for a lawyer over and over and over and over? that they were able to have this PCA that's 18 pages, 19 pages to turn in. Wait, what? Like right after they did an interview with him. How would you know that? How would you have all of that? You wouldn't. Unless you framing a motherfucker. And that's what they did. They railroaded this guy. So much so that when you, as an officer, commit perjury to put a affidavit together, there's a thing called a civil liability for false affidavits. And Van Leuven, you about to get sued out your ass. I went ahead and I did it. So see me tomorrow night. I provided the Moors with hella write-up to support. I took a whole probable cause, listed it out. For example, like this. I took every paragraph that they did in the probable cause and I wrote it out. So Mrs. Drake hung up to call 911 after a short period of time. Mrs. Drake estimated the time from Dr. Drake no longer responding and to when she hung up was approximately 15 seconds. Based on the timestamp from the phones, Mr. or Mrs. Drake's estimation of the time that elapsed puts the time of the shooting at approximately 7:26. Mrs. Drake dialed 911 to report what she had heard. The dispatch center in Coeur d'Alene patched her call first up to the Bonner County Sheriff's Dispatch Center. Well, what's after a short period of time did Mrs. Drake hang up to call 911? Because I can tell you an hour and 41 minutes is not a short period of time. That is misleading the tribunal. That is misleading the magistrate. And what you have to do is it's a two-part test that you have to prove for all of this. But I break it all down. And I believe that this happened in the Brian Kohlberger case. And I'm going to show you guys how I did it. And I'll be using good old Hector. But you can, you have to be able to prove a couple different things. A plaintiff may challenge the presumption of validity afforded a warrant where the magistrate was misled by information contained in the affidavit that the defendant either one, knew was false, or two, would have known was false had he not recklessly disregarded the truth. What about when you know the truth? And you have to be able to prove some stuff. And so I can prove the stuff through the discovery. And the Moors are civilly in federal court suing all of these counties and the ISP detectives, as well as that includes Gary Tolson, one of the detectives that got named by Ann Taylor. So Ann Taylor, I'm about to hand you the biggest fucking bone. You can take me out to dinner, after this whole ordeal is over with, and let me interview you before you go to some chumps. Oh, so bring your questions tomorrow. I'll show you guys what I got. And if you did not see this interview, do me a favor and go to right around the 30-minute mark and get your good DNA back and forth questions with the DNA right around the 30-minute mark of this live. And I think Ms. Vargas agreed to a follow-up, so as well as this experiment that I'm about to do. So again, you guys are awesome. Make yourself known. Hit the thumbs up, hit the thumbs down. Either way, you have an opinion, use it. Thanks to all the mods for modding tonight. All the members, subscribers. It's November 29th. Keep it real. People that were murdered and you want to fuck around. You got 8 families that are being affected by this, and nobody from the university.
Shock value. And so what he did was he had taken pictures California.
Oh, you're from I would be outraged if I lived in Moscow right now. I'd be lighting some cars on fire out there. I'd be flipping some cars. I'd get the frats going wild with me. Let's get some noise complaints going.